Hello, Arty Peoples, and welcome to another episode of Jerry's Live. My name is Emmy Klein, and I am your host this evening. And of course, as you can see, we have a guest on the show tonight.
Hello, everybody. So excited to be here.
And if you don't know, this is Jeff Olson from Royal Talens. I am very excited to have you on the show. Thank you for being here.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thanks for the invite.
Yes, of course. So before we jump into what you have to show us today, which I'm so excited for, because it's a brand new item.
It's brand new.
And I've been itching to try these, and I haven't touched anything yet. So you guys are going to experience my first impression live on the show.
I know it. I love that.
Excited.
That is going to be great.
Yes, but before we do that, I wanted to remind you all that if you are interested in viewing any of the items that we are going to be showing today, make sure to go to the website, JerrysArtarama.com, and type in today's class code, which is JL344. Now, if you type that in the search bar, the teacher's cart should come up and show you everything that we're going to be using today, and you can check it out there. So, without further ado, let's jump in.
Well, thank you again for having me. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Super excited today. We're going to share with you information on the new Talens Pantone collection of markers, inks, and papers.
I'm so excited.
All sorts of good stuff. I've got a presentation that I'm going to share first, so this will be a little different. Kind of like when I was doing it virtually, for those of you who watched some of those shows.
Yes.
I always have a PowerPoint, so I've got my PowerPoint here, and going to share that with you. It's got a big portion dedicated to FAQs, frequently asked questions. So hopefully we'll answer a lot of questions in the process of the presentation. Then we're going to do hands-on. And like Amy said, this is her first go at it.
Yes.
So that's going to be exciting. We're going to demonstrate some of the techniques of the markers and the inks themselves, show some of the products. We've got a bunch of stuff here on the table.
Yes.
And we've got a giveaway too.
We do have a giveaway, so make sure to watch the presentation. And if you've seen our shows before, you know the answer to get the giveaway is in the presentation. So,
Yep. So we'll show some of that, and I'm excited. So should we go ahead and just jump in then?
yes, now before you do that, I just want a quick reminder, if you guys are watching on Instagram or TikTok, the presentation part of it is not going to be visible like the slideshow that you're going to see over on Facebook or YouTube. I do have a printout of the presentation on the table here for you guys to see, but it's just a printout. So if you're interested in seeing a bigger, more high definition version of that, go over to our YouTube or Facebook.
Perfect, yeah. So we're improvising, so
Yes.
I love that. Improvise, adapt, overcome.
Doing our best.
Name of the game. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So if you are seeing the screen now, you see my lead in there, filled with possibilities. And that's exactly how I feel about these products. They really are a unique group. If you're into markers, you're going to love them, but they're really much more than a marker. The marker refill inks they're referred to are really an independent product in and of itself, so it's going to be really exciting to share with you some of the working properties and how they play together and how this is going to appeal to a much broader audience than just folks who love markers. A couple things before I jump into the Pantone. I need to give a shout out to Royal Talens in general because we're celebrating our 125th year. Established in 1899, and you can see in this slide several of the brands all the way back to the beginning. So Rembrandt, actually, our oils and watercolors are 125 years old along with the company. Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
And you can see several of the other brands that you're probably familiar with, like Van Gogh and Amsterdam and Brunzeel. And then, of course, towards the very end of that timeline, you see the new Talens Pantone collection. So shout out to Royal Talens. All right, so the Talens Pantone collection itself. So super excited to announce this. A group of markers, inks, and paper. So there's some pads as well as some exclusive pads that were the result of a partnership between Royal Talens and Pantone, which means the products have the official match to the Pantone color collection. So super exciting for folks who need to make color critical decisions or just for people who love color. All right, so here's the outline for our talk. We're going to share a little bit about Pantone. There are some folks out there who probably know exactly what Pantone is all about, but there are some folks who maybe are just familiar with the name and not really sure what that means, so I'll share with you what that is. Then I'm going to go over some of the features and benefits of the collection itself. And then the majority of this presentation is on the FAQs, or frequently asked questions. And then I'm going to share some of the resources that are available outside of what we're going to be talking about today. And then a quick summary, and then we'll get into the demo, which is what we're going to spend most of our time doing. So about Pantone itself. So the Pantone brand is a color system that was created in 1963. It's about standardizing colors. What they're really offering is this promise of uniformity in color. So from the designer to the printer or the designer to the manufacturer, you know that you're going to have correct colors all the way through. Other things that really people recognize right away are the formula guides, and this is a picture of one of the formula guides. These are for sale in art supply stores. You can get them online. Designers, live by these. There's also digital versions of these, of course, for folks who work on the computer. But this is what we use to match up colors. So if you create a color, you can find the Pantone equivalent and then send that information off to the printer or the manufacturer, and you know that you'll get the exact color. There's also a whole lifestyle brand around Pantone, so the demographic really goes beyond just folks who are designers or artists. They make everything from sheets and T-shirts and little coffee mugs and you name it. This is actually a picture.
Mugs. They're
yeah,
so
aren't
cute.
they fun? This is a store in Tokyo, and they have stores all over the world. So it's really a lifestyle brand as much as it is a resource for artists and designers. The Pantone Institute are who are really responsible behind the scenes for all the exciting things that happen with Pantone, including the color of the year.
I love that.
And you see Peach Fuzz right here, and this is coming out. I got asked last time, is there going to be a Peach Fuzz? And there is. There's a new Peach Fuzz ink and marker that's coming out next
I
month,
love that.
so that'll be available. But the Color Institute works with artists, designers, businesses. They work on brand identity. They work on customized color schemes. Of course, they do projections, like with the color of the year, and they work with fashion industry as well. So they really have a broad impact on creative endeavors globally. The brand itself, the Pantone Color Institute, also creates wonderful reports and does research on psychology of color.
Oh, wow.
So lots of really cool things to look at. There is 95% brand awareness in the marketplace with Pantone. So when you associate Pantone with a product, you're immediately garnering all sorts of attention to it in terms of folks who get excited about it. There are 3.7 million followers for Pantone on Instagram.
I did not know that.
And over 10 million designers globally are referencing the system. So if you're using these, you are going to be instantly part of this huge community of artists and designers. So that's a little bit about Pantone. So let's talk about the Talens Pantone collection. Before we actually show the products, I want to talk a little bit about how folks use these. You'll see a lot in the literature, and you'll see us talking about it. The color you sketch is the color you get, and what does that mean specifically for artists? So why is Talens and Pantone important? So let's go ahead and look at this image for you folks. You'll see here, this is actually a sample of the ink as it was created by Talens with Pantone specifications. And of course, we came up with the products. You'll see them there, the ink and the marker together. And so the way this works for artists and designers is that you create this mock-up. Here you can see this design of a crock pot, and they did it with the marker, and you can see the little swatch on there for the Pantone's color. So the artist is able to communicate then to the designer who puts this on a computer. And I think this is a great illustration because the color on the screen looks nothing like the color that the artist was using. So you can see how Pantone systems become important at communicating it to the final concept being realized as an actual crock pot to the same colors that the artist used in the beginning. So that's how Pantone works and how these markers and inks can be part of that story.
Oh, for sure.
So the collection itself, so all the goodies that you get. So there are 108 markers, so a huge range of color.
That is a lot of
It
selection.
is a lot
I'm
of colors.
so excited.
We're not going to work with all 108 today.
Dang it.
But we're going to do our best to make a
Yeah,
dent
that's
in
true.
it.
We'd be here for hours.
Absolutely. So there are also a lot of sets to choose from. There are 24 sets. Everything from a combination of 254 sets that make the whole collection. There's one 27 marker set, and then there's several 9 marker sets to help introduce people to these products.
We will be showing a couple of those later.
Absolutely. We're going to take a peek at some of the goodies. There are also the equal amount of inks. So for
Okay.
every marker, there's a matching ink.
Wonderful. Okay, so no matter what, if you have a marker, you can always buy the ink
Yep.
to go with it.
Yep. There will always be a
Love that.
partner ink so that you have either the refill, if you're really into the marker part, or you have an accompanying color that you can play with other tools, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And then finally, the art pads. So there is a customized art pad that's made specifically for these colors, so you can get the color, true color correct match with the Pantone.
Love that.
And so I'll share some of those as well. So that's the whole collection together. So let's look at some of the qualities of the marker, and this is what we'll be demonstrating later, but just so you get an idea of it first. So the markers themselves have a chisel and brush nib, so you see that in the illustration there. So they have lots of options in terms of the mark making capability. They are light fast using pigment. So this is a pigmented tool. This is an archival tool.
Which is
so
huge.
it's not dye-based.
Yeah, I was going to say, a lot of the times that you get those markers, they are dye-based and they're going to fade no matter what you do. So these are not. They're archival.
Permanent color. Permanent
Love
color.
that.
So this is going to be great, again, for expanding the demographic, if you will, to artists who are looking to create images that are going to stand the test of time.
Oh, for sure.
They are water-based and waterproof. Love that feature. So
Yes.
they play nice with all other water media.
I am so excited about that. So this is definitely not an alcohol-based marker,
Yep.
similar to like Copic. It's
Exactly.
It's water-based.
No solvents. No
Yes.
solvents. They can be used on a pre-wet surface as well, and we're going to demonstrate some of that. So you can actually draw into a wetted watercolor paper, for example, or use the ink straight out of the bottle for that.
Excited about that.
As you said, no harmful solvents, like there are in a lot of solvent-based markers, and no toxic odor as a result.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of you out there remember the old Letraset or Tria Pantone markers.
Ooh. Katie does. I do too. Oh, that, yeah.
Love the color, but they would knock you out.
They would. It was
so strong.
The smell
Yeah.
was incredible. It, not in a good way.
Yeah,
It
not
was
at all.
very strong. So this has none of that.
None of that, none of that. So these
Beautiful.
markers are nothing like those markers,
Okay.
other than the colors, right?
Yeah. Colors are beautiful. They will not,
They will not knock you out and make you dizzy for the next 3 days.
True. which is great. It's a very good thing.
Next feature, fast drying. Super fast drying. You will be
I'm
amazed
excited
at how
to see
quickly these dry, which
Yeah.
makes them exceptional for layering techniques.
Oh, yeah.
Really smooth stroke, especially if you're working on a smooth surface that's not super absorbent. It's like butter. It's
Butter.
like butter.
Butter. Love that.
I mentioned the layering. They
Yeah.
really, this is their strength. They're not a blending marker. So they're
Layering.
not like a marker with a solvent that reactivates the surface or a watercolor marker that reactivates. Because they're permanent, when they dry, nothing lifts up, which makes them great for layering, not so much for blending.
Okay. This has its strengths.
yeah, yeah.
Now, I do have a question with that, with layering. So are all of these going to have that transparency?
Yes, they're all
Okay.
transparent colors, so you get those wonderful optical color mixtures with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm excited about that.
Permanent when dry, so they're water-based, waterproof, and completely permanent.
So similar to like an acrylic.
Yeah, similar to an
Very
acrylic.
similar to an
In
acrylic.
terms, once they're dry, they don't lift back up, and you can layer away.
Love that.
I've done dozens of layers on these things.
Oh, yeah?
Just to see, where it goes, and it's pretty cool.
Trying to see how far you
Yeah,
can take it.
Yeah. There's a large refillable reservoir, so these are refillable markers, and it's about 4 mil, and I'll talk about that in
Okay.
the FAQs. So there's lots of ink in them, and they're made in Germany under supervision of Talents.
Love that.
All right, so the ink qualities, you're going to see that this list is almost identical to the previous list in terms of the working properties. So this is a 30 ml bottle. If you've ever used Amsterdam inks or Ecolina liquid watercolor, same bottle. And I love this bottle. It does not knock over.
Yeah, it's a very sturdy bottle.
Very sturdy bottle. Yeah, so super great for your work table. They are also light fast using pigments. It's the same ink as in the markers, water-based and waterproof again. Mix with water, so you can create different values in your palette. Common method for people who are inkers, right? Who are creating gradation scales with their different, like our Talents drawing ink. Same thing can be done with these with water. Again, no harmful solvents, no toxic odor from these. Again, very fast drying, even when you're brushing them on or right out of the bottle. And we're going to play
I'm
with that.
excited to see that.
You can almost immediately run your hand over the top of it or
wow.
layer more color down. So it's really incredible. Calligraphers are going to love this
I
ink. Yeah.
can only imagine.
Again,
Amanda, I'm looking at you.
permanent when dry again. So
Lovely.
we have that feature, and also made in Germany. Used to refill your marker, obviously, but there are a lot of other applications as well, and we'll cover those both in the presentation and the demo.
Nice.
So we have 4 pads, and we'll show you some of those when we do the demo too, but here's an image of them. So this paper has been formulated specifically to optimize the color, so that when you work on it in a single layer of color using the chisel nib, you get an actual graphic Pantone chip, the uncoated chip.
I was wondering about that because, different paper has different absorbency. So that I feel like really can affect the color. So this has been formulated.
So this has been specifically right. So they
Yeah.
won't guarantee the color match on other types of paper, but on this paper
on this
they
one,
will.
it will. Okay.
Although, every marker and every bottle of ink has the Pantone color reference. So even if you are working on another paper and want to communicate the colors that you're using, you still have that reference.
That is wonderful.
All right, so there's 4 different sizes. You can see them all pictured here. The art pad comes in the larger A3 size. That's like a 12 by 16-ish size, and the A4, which is like a 9 by 12, 20 sheets. The sketchbook comes in the A4 and A5, so it goes down to a smaller version, and there are 30 sheets in that, but it's ring bound versus tape bound, so it's more
Gotcha.
convenient for traveling and flipping
You
your
can
pages that way.
just flip
Yep.
right over and keep going.
Yep. The paper on all of them is the same. It's an 82-pound drawing paper, so
Okay.
it's a really nice weight. I wouldn't say it's durable for a lot of wet-into-wet techniques, but it certainly handles the layers of the marker without bleeding.
Yeah.
It's a smooth surface, not completely smooth like plate, more
Okay.
like a vellum Bristol, I would,
Okay.
relate it to, or a really nice drawing paper. Somewhat absorbent, but minimal bleeding. You don't get a lot of bleeding with it. You get some pretty sharp edges.
Nice.
It's a true white color. Again, the color has been optimized for the representation of the Pantone swatch. It's acid-free, it's FSC mix, it's using recycled materials both in the paper and the packaging. It's a
Okay.
very sustainable product.
Now, can you quickly explain what FSC mix
Sure,
means?
so it's responsible forestry management. So
Okay.
it's usually controlled forest where the trees are coming from. So all sustainably managed versus, clear cut or anything like that. Yeah, and there are forests both in the United States, North America, and in the EU who practice this.
I love
And
that.
so there are a lot of reputable paper makers today are making sure that this is part of their process.
That
And
is
Royal Talens is
wonderful.
no exception. A lot of Royal Talens papers are FSC mixed.
That is great.
All right, FAQ. So we'll try to jump ahead on the questions and answer some of them before you come to it. But we will still have time at the end, of course, for some questions. All right, so how did we come to this color selection? So there are over 2,000 colors in the Pantone world, and we came up with 108. And we worked with Pantone. They advised us on the color choices, what was most popular. We added a primary set to it to be able to give the kind of color optical mixtures for secondaries and tertiaries and those kind of things. But a real collaboration in terms of determining the best palette to get started with. There are many systems in the Pantone world, if you're familiar with them. We selected the graphic system for Pantone, so the types that graphic designers would use. And if you were to buy a formula guide to match this, it would be the Formula Solid Uncoated Guide. So the difference between some of them, like coated or uncoated, would be like if you varnished a painting. So an unvarnished painting would be the uncoated version of the color. The coated version would be like a varnished painting. So that changes the way we perceive the color, even though the base pigment is the same. So we're
Makes sense.
using the uncoated version here. So when do I get the color match? As I mentioned before, it's on the Pantone, Talens Pantone pads where they guarantee the color match. One layer using the chisel nib. And the reason for that is you get more control with the chisel nib on how much ink is coming out, or the brush nib, if you alter your pressure even a little bit, you can change the amount of ink that comes out. So that's why it's the chisel nib.
Okay.
And just one layer of it, and then you've essentially created your own Pantone chip.
I love that.
Yeah, isn't that cool? So how much ink is in the marker? I mentioned this already. There are 4 milliliters of ink in the marker, so it's a pretty big well. What's so special about the cap, you'll notice this when we start playing with them, they get this really cool cap. It's a representation of the color chip, the coated chip. So I want to always make sure to differentiate. This is a plastic cap, so it's always going to be the coated color. So don't try to match the cap to the color, but it does have the indication of the Pantone's color number on it and the fun inlay of the Talens logo.
I do love that logo. That is
It's a nice,
wonderful.
nice touch. I
Great
thought.
packaging.
We actually won an award.
Oh.
For the packaging.
I can imagine.
Award-winning packaging.
It is a really beautiful marker.
Yeah, markers, the boxes,
And
the
the,
whole
and the
thing.
box, yeah, the boxes. very satisfying. I'm a very tactile person, and you'll see it in a minute.
It
They're
is.
great.
I like that. It is exactly that. The drying time of the marker, and this is true for the inks, incredibly fast. You lay down a line and it is virtually dry in seconds. Multiple layers will, of course, affect that. The more layers that you put on, the longer the drying time. The absorbency of the paper also impacts that. The more absorbent the paper, the faster it will dry. The smoother the paper, like if you're using a type of UPO or something like that,
Yeah, it's
you're going
more
to have
plastic.
a slower drying time, which could give you the ability to blend them, where on the other papers you wouldn't have that without the adding water.
Very true.
What's the cap off marker time? So how long before the marker dries up?
That's a good question.
Long time.
Okay.
We tested 24 hours.
Okay.
So 24 hours, they did not dry up. And I've told people this story before. My very first set that came to me had several of the caps off of it from shipping. I have no idea how long the caps were off. I thought, oh great, half the set is no good to me anymore.
no.
I used those markers and they were perfect,
perfectly
as
fine?
if I had just taken the cap off.
Wow.
So they don't dry up in the marker
But
quickly at all,
somehow
even
when
though
you
when you
apply
lay it on
it-
the paper.
It's magic.
It is magic.
Okay.
It is true magic.
Magic markers.
So how do you store the markers? So
That's a
the
great
best way to
question.
store them is horizontally. Because they're a dual tip marker, you want even distribution of the ink, so you want a flat marker, and the boxes are designed to store them away. You don't want to put these markers in a jar or anything like that. You'll end up with all the ink at one end, and the other end just won't come to life for a while. So store them flat in the box with even flow to both nibs.
That's valid. Unless you really hate a chisel nib.
Yeah, exactly. Can you refill the marker? How many times can you refill the marker, and how do you refill the marker?
All great questions.
So I'm going to answer the first two. I'm going to show you the third one when we get to the
Love
demo.
that.
So yes, they are refillable. They can be refilled approximately 7 to 8 times, which equals the amount of about 1 bottle of ink.
Oh.
Yeah, so it
That's
evens
good.
out. Yeah, so you get a pretty good life. Also, there will be replacement nibs available in 2025.
Oh.
So you'll also be able to replace the nibs, extending the life even more.
Love that.
Yeah, so these are a real tool that can
Yep.
be held onto and prized for a long time. Can I screw open the brush side? So you'll notice when you get your hands on these, the brush side is actually designed to screw off. You'll kind of look at that. And that was how we intended to make them refillable. But the machine that puts them on so tightly that it's almost impossible to get them off without damaging them or having a really firm grip. So we don't recommend that. The best way to refill them is to remove the chisel nib, and I'll show you how that's done when we get to the demo.
So technically, yes, it was able to be unscrewed, but we don't recommend it.
We don't recommend it. I mean, if you've got a firm grip, go at it, but don't recommend it because we don't want you to break the marker.
Yeah,
Right.
that's not worth it.
Not worth it. All right. What about the design of the box? So I love these boxes. They're super classy. There are other things besides being classy that I like about them. They are really designed to display the markers and fit them perfectly on your desk. A nice little square box that holds them horizontally. It's a black box with a white color so that you really can focus on the colors of the marker. There's no distractions from that. There's a transparent inlay as well, so nothing competing or reflecting light there, so you really get a true representation of the colors. The inlay also ensures that the markers stay in place. So you'll notice when we're working with them, there's a little knobby on the chisel cap.
Yep.
And there's a little groove in the inlay, and so that slides into it and holds it so that the description of the marker is face up the whole time it's in the box. So a nice feature. They're also all similar in size, so we have several of them kind of illustrating that right now. They're all stacked upon each other really conveniently, so you can have them at your ease of disposal right when you're working, so you don't have to fight where the markers are at. They stack nicely
Very
on the
true.
desk. So how can I see which markers are in the box when I'm shopping? There's a couple different things that show you this. So the first is they all have their different or unique sleeve, and you can see this is the 54 set and that nice green sleeve with the name on it, indicating which set you have. There's also a sticker on the side with the different colors, and these are the actual colors as they are presented in the package. So if you ever pull them all out, you can't remember where they go, you've got this guide to put them back where they go, if that's important to you.
And they're actually in chromatic order, which makes me so happy.
So happy. Me too. My OCD there.
Oh, same.
Whoever designed this had the same OCD as Eddie. And then the sticker is also the Pantone approved color swatch. So it's a color guide in and of itself on the
Love
side of the
that.
box. Yeah, so lots of great features. So which types of papers can you use? Of course you can use the Talens Pantone papers, but you can really use any paper that you like to work on, whether it's drawing paper, sketching paper, illustration paper, marker paper, mixed media paper, the list goes on. They all work wonderfully with a variety of effects and results depending on what you choose. What can I do with the marker ink? So we mentioned a little bit already. There's a lot more than just using them as refills. So it's comparable to a drawing ink in many ways. So you can use a brush to apply it. You can use a nib to apply it. You can do calligraphy. I even have some folks who have been using them in airbrush, thinning with a little bit of water. Yeah,
That's got to be wonderful.
on an absorbent paper, they're going to dry very quickly. You can pre-wet like a cold pressed watercolor paper, which we're going to do today, and get some really fun effects that way, bleeds and blooms. A less absorbent paper, you're going to be able to create probably some really fun blends, really sharp edges, controlled lines. And also the sheen of the paper affects the way you perceive the color. So it's kind of a fun, unique
Which I
feature
feel like
as well.
goes right back to that coated versus uncoated part,
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
almost like it has almost like a varnish if it's a glossy paper.
Exactly. It
cool.
reflects light in a different way, and it changes the way you perceive the color. And then I've already kind of mentioned this, you can use with dip pens, you can refill the pens that have a reservoir.
Oh,
Yeah. All
that would
sorts
be
of
fun.
things, yeah.
Pantone pens.
Pantone pens. So we got some resources out there for everybody. And there's a series of videos that we created. One of them is a video for the demo that we're going to do today. So the general Pantone marker techniques. So the Talens Pantone markers, think of how all different paints are a little bit different. So oils are a little different than watercolors, a little different than acrylics.
Yeah.
They all have their strengths. Markers are the same way. You can't group all markers together. They all have different strengths in terms of the techniques they're good for. So we devised this particular techniques demo so that you can kind of put them through their paces if you're already a marker pro, or if you've never picked up a marker before,
Yeah.
you'll be able to learn some of the basic techniques for applying color.
I love that.
So that's what it's all about. It has this accompanying video. You can use this QR code, and I think you're going to list the link as well.
Yes, I was going to say we have my amazing moderators, Amanda and Michaelia. They're actually going to be popping those links in if you're, just in case you don't have the link available for you that way.
Perfect. Or you can take a quick snap of that picture.
can.
There you go. There's also an advanced marker technique, so this would get a little tricky. Mix it up a little bit, and so that's a fun video and sheet to use. And then we have one that shows some of the fun things you can do with the inks themselves, some fun inking techniques. Everything from masking to wet into wet. Yeah, some fun
I did
stuff.
not even think about the masking fluid being used
Yeah.
for that. That would
Yeah.
be fun.
Yeah, masking fluid works great with the markers too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So many options.
There is a growing number of informative content online. A lot of artists have gotten their hands on these and created some really wonderful videos. So just type in your search engine, Talens Pantone, and you will see lots of fun videos that are out there. This is an example of the video on how to refill the marker, which we're going to show today, but just in case you want to see it over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
There it is.
You got an option.
But lots of good content online, and it's growing every day. And I would encourage you guys to post if you're posting. Let us see what you're doing.
Is there, if you are posting to social media, is there like a hashtag that is
Talens Pantone.
Talens
Hashtag
Pantone?
Talens Pantone.
You can also do hashtag JerrysArtarama. That way I can find it and I get to see what you're doing too.
Yay.
Love that.
So just a brief summary before we get to the demo on some of the things that I think are really exciting about this product line. So Pantone itself is this universal language of color that's known by millions of artists. So there's that worldwide. Also, they're light fast, pigmented, water-based, permanent markers and inks. I think that's if I could say anything about them, that would be it in terms of what really makes them exciting to me. They're really a professional tool. No dyes, no harmful solvents, no toxic odors as a result.
Beautiful.
Yeah. No VOCs, no volatile organic compounds floating around. Gotta stay away from that. And then, of course, the unique branded surfaces. Having a marker pad that's designed specifically for the markers that you're using.
I think that's
Super fun to
wonderful.
have. All right, so that is it for the presentation.
Yay!
Escape
All
that.
right, now I can stop flipping through these pages. So now everybody over on Instagram and TikTok can see what we're actually about to do, and I don't have to be doing that anymore. But yay!
Yay.
All right.
So first let's
What are we doing?
show off some of the goodies. So we've
Yes.
got some of the pads. I know you saw pictures of them, but I thought it would be fun just to kind of give you some scale. You can see how that fits in my hand really easily,
yeah.
and how the ring binds up top.
So the pink that is spiral bound is the sketchbook.
It's the sketchbook and has 30 sheets. That's
30
really the
sheets.
difference. Ring bound and more pages. So if
Love
you want
that.
more pages to work with, these are the ones.
Okay.
These are the tape bound. These are the art pads, 20 sheets. Same paper again, larger sizes, so larger format, and
Trying to show the whole
and they have
thing
a
on.
nice taped edges too. Also, if you look, the page goes all the way back, so you can work
Ooh, I
flat
love
on
that.
the table with that
Actually,
as well.
let me see if I can get that on camera here. Is what he's talking about is this, where that you're not going to have that glue kind of, or the
Fighting it, yeah.
front cover getting in the way there.
Yeah, so
Which
it'll
is
lay
beautiful.
flat on your
Yeah.
desk. You can work on it in the pad and then tear the sheet of your
Love that.
masterpiece out after the fact.
Okay.
You can see the markers already and the bottled inks, but we also have some sets. This one on the top is kind of fun. It's an empty box.
Yes.
But it allows you to curate your own selection. So if you're standing in front of all 108 colors and you see the sets, but you really, geez, I want my own set, you can do that, and it even gives you a spot on the side to mark the colors so you know
love
what's
that.
in that particular set. So that's the empty
That's so
set.
cool.
It comes with both a cool gray and warm gray.
I think the cool gray.
There
Yep,
we
there
go.
we go.
There we
We
go.
have the cool gray and warm gray, which of course we're going to be messing around with, but you can see the swatches there. Let me pull it
So
up a
these are the
little higher.
9 marker sets. The majority of the sets are in these 9 marker collections.
Lovely. Now, before we keep going, do we have a question?
Yes, Monica from YouTube would like to know if the Pantone markers bleed through the paper.
If they bleed through the paper.
It's all going to depend on the paper. If you're using a drawing paper that's 70 pounds or heavier, you're not going to get any significant bleed through, if any.
And
But if
the
you're using a light sketch
Pantone
paper,
paper is 85?
82.
82.
2 pounds. So yeah, nice heavy. So I get very little bleeding with it. I think that's partly because it's not a solvent based marker, so it doesn't break through the sizing of the paper. It sits right on top of it really nicely. So you're not going to get a lot of bleeding with this, even on some lighter weight papers. But if you're using copy paper or something that's 10, 20, 30 pounds like that, you're probably going to see some bleed through.
Yeah.
Good question.
All right. Okay, so then we have, all right, let's go over, I guess, these 3.
Yep, those are the ones we have. They're more than this, but we just thought we'd bring an
have
example of
on
some of the
here.
variety. Yeah, so there's a cityscape, a landscape, and then the primary set as well.
So this is the primary right here. So it's got all these beautiful colors on there. This is the nature set. So it's going to have a little bit more of it looks a little bit more earthy tone.
Earthy tones, yeah.
And then
Urban
city,
landscape there.
Yeah, more
Some of the
urban-y.
grays, yeah.
Yeah. So,
So really fun curated sets.
yeah. I'm very excited about these.
And the 27 set, which is going to be the giveaway.
So excited. This is the giveaway.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to be giving away for you guys. There are the swatches on the side. Now, of course, how to enter the giveaway, we'll talk to you guys about that at the end of this demo. So just stay tuned for that. And I also love that it says the side up so that you can sort horizontally. Just a little sticker reminder.
Yeah, a reminder on the packaging.
But I am so excited. So when you open them, of course, there's a short side and a big side.
Yep.
The short side is the part that comes up,
Yeah.
and then you have all your markers right there.
Ta-da! And they're all kind of grouped in 3s of
I love
color
that.
coordinated matches.
And
yeah.
then let me see if I can. Yeah, you can see the little little nubby that kind of locks it right into place so that it doesn't turn, and they stay perfectly lined up like that. Which I mean, again with my OCD, so happy. It is. I'm just so happy about that. But yeah, you can see that there's the little notch for that. But then there's the
color,
brush
yeah.
tip with the color code, and then of course the chisel is on the other side. I'm so excited with these. Ooh. All right.
So those are all the goodies we have. I wanted to show you a couple things. So these are the sheets that you also can link to. You're going to be able to link to. These are the worksheets that go with the videos. So if you want to have something as a written reference as opposed to the video, these are also available and have double-sided. They also have the QR code that can take you
Perfect.
to the demo. And
Now-
we're going to be doing this one today.
I actually did not post these yet, but I will post these also to our Jerry's Life Facebook group as soon as the show is over. So if you guys are looking for these and you don't find the link to it for it, I can also make sure to post them over there. If you are not part of our Jerry's Life Facebook group, it's free to join. You just have to make sure you answer that one security question, and then you'll be let in. So
Perfect. And there's one for the general marker techniques, great for beginners or anybody who wants to put them through their paces. Advanced marker techniques to show you some of the more expressive ways that you can use the markers. And then one for inking techniques.
love that.
Show you some of the options there besides just refilling your marker. So we're going to be doing this one today.
Okay.
And for this, I created a little worksheet. And this is what we're going to be working on. I'm going to
Okay.
set these aside here too. But before we get to this, I do want to show folks how they refill.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Okay.
So just need a paper towel or a rag. I will take the blue one. You use the chisel end.
Not
See
the
it right
brush
there?
end.
Not the brush end, the chisel end. And you just grab it with your paper towel or
I
your
can
painting
get
rig.
you to move just
right
a little
there.
bit further up, like that.
There we go.
There you go.
Just sink it a little closer. So there's the chisel nib.
Yep.
I'm going to grab it and pull it out. And then I just take the pipette. If I were to unscrew it, you want to unscrew that? We're going to fake it because this is full.
Yeah.
We don't need to add
We
any
don't need
more.
to add any more.
But the little pipette just fits right in there and we can
Goes
refill.
like
And it's about
that.
3 to 4 pipettes and you're in business. And then you want to make sure you put it back in. There's a little groove there that it fits in.
So the chisel
voila.
being a flat, there's like a little groove that it fits just perfectly into to get right back in there.
Shake it a little bit and you're in business. So that's how they refill.
Ta-da!
Easy peasy.
Easy, easy. All right. And so you said about 3 to 4 of these pipettes
3 to 4
full.
pipettes will fill it up. That's
Okay.
about 4
Depending on
milliliters.
how empty your marker is.
Yep. And you'll get about 7 to 8 refills per bottle.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
Cool. All right, so let's do some testing. So
Okay.
this is your first time using them.
Yes, and I'm so excited.
Awesome.
Now, tell me about this paper that we are working on.
So this is the actual Pantone paper. I printed this out on a laser printer. And
So the Pantone paper you can put through a laser printer, guys. How
worked
exciting
out
is that?
neat. Yeah, yeah. We got and actually some fun worksheets that are available too, or will be available.
I'll also post those
Yeah.
to the Jerry's Life Facebook group.
So some fun coloring sheets. But,
Yeah.
yeah, make your own. Be excited to see what people could
Oh,
do.
I'm imagining this is going to be so much fun to work with, especially with that transparency.
Yeah. Lots of great optical
Okay.
mixtures. All right.
So I'm guessing we're going to start up here.
We're going to start with the brush nib.
Okay.
So this first technique, choose your poison, or you could choose from there too.
I think, all right, so I'm going to let you guys choose for me from my teammates here. Am I going to use the nature set, the primary set, or the city set?
Oh man.
I'll let you guys choose.
You know which one I want.
Okay, so I have primary set. This is the nature set in the middle, and this is the city set. Let me hold these up so you guys can see.
Choices. This is a tough one.
I know, they're so pretty. Which one do you guys say?
Well, Facebook already has one vote for primary and one for nature.
And I know
I'll do the primary. I'll do the
Michaela-
primary, you do the nature.
Okay,
There
perfect.
we go.
I love that. We're just gonna split it down the middle. Primary for you?
Primary. Well,
Nature set
I've
for
got
me.
the primary out here, so
Oh, you do?
I'm
Okay,
ahead.
perfect. Well then you
I'm ahead of it.
jumped ahead of me. Okay. All right, now I feel like I just need to like put this over here and have the lid, let it sit just like that.
Perfect.
And now it's just propped up. Okay.
All right, so first thing we're going to do is just give the brush nib a test. So we've got
Brush
the
nib.
brush nib side there. And we're going to go either top to bottom or side to side, depending on what's more comfortable
Okay.
for you. But what we're testing out here are the variety of line weights that we can create using the brush nib. So the very first
Okay.
line we're going to create is with the lightest possible pressure we can manage
Jeez. This is
across the top.
testing my skill set over here. Okay.
Well, that's good. That is good. And then with
Okay.
each successive line, just a little bit more pressure. And work our way down to the bottom. And a couple things you see right off the bat, you get a feel for how wonderful the layout of color is with these. It just comes really easy. And then also the expressive potential of this nib. Just changing pressure gives you all these different line weights.
And even how I'm changing the direction of how I'm pulling it. I feel like if I want a fatter line, if I pull it from the side, you know, that's definitely going to help me
Ah,
if
nice.
I'm not using the tip.
I love too how the saturation of color, even with light pressure, matches with the heavier pressure.
It really
Yeah,
does.
there's no real difference. It isn't like you get a lighter color.
Just nobody judge me on how shaky my hands are. I'm not great at drawing straight lines, so just don't judge that.
Yeah. No,
Yours
that's
are
great.
very straight.
That's great. Perfect. I think it's perfect.
Expressive. Okay.
They're expressive, exactly.
All right.
So that is the brush nib. So let's pick a
Love
different
that.
color
Okay.
and then check out the chisel nib.
I
And it
really,
shows this
I was
fun
almost
green.
gonna grab the lighter green. So yeah, I'm gonna go with this.
So we're going to do the same thing here, but instead of adjusting the pressure, we're going to
Mm-hmm.
turn the nib so that we're using it in all different angles. And this is one of the great things
Okay.
about a chisel nib, right? If I just put it on the very point, it
Like
gives
if
this
I'm
very
holding it upside-
specific line.
Like upside
Yep.
down,
Yep.
where the chisel part is
Yep,
down.
the
the ground.
pointiest portion of it.
Okay.
The pointiest portion of it. And you can control the line so much easier.
Ooh.
Yeah, so where here we had to really gauge our touch and pressure and takes a little practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With the chisel nib, not as much to get
And
a nice even distribution of color.
I even drew a straighter line.
And then,
All right, so we're gonna go down
and
and,
then yeah, we're just going to turn, you know, the pen a little bit each time. And then you can see as we're coloring around here how we're starting to get different line weights. And kind of come back to the other side.
wonder if go this way. Whoop. This way go. Yeah, I can see where I stopped right there. Let's do that again. There we go.
Perfect.
That is so cool.
So yeah, so just again, seeing what you can get in terms of marks, getting used to how they feel, how the color lays down. Real basic stuff, but really meaningful in understanding what's happening with the marker as a tool. All right, continuous. So this is the most common technique in filling in an area.
Okay, so I'm just gonna
So
fill
we're
the
gonna,
whole
yeah,
thing.
so we're gonna use the brush nib
Okay.
for this. The best way to do it is kind of hold it, you know, at a 45-ish degree angle. And with a continuous one, we never lift the nib up as we go back and forth.
Okay.
And we slightly overlap each line that we do.
I was just about to ask that. Now, how quickly do you have to work? I'm gonna look at yours first
Yeah,
before
so
you.
we go down here,
Okay.
and you can see where you stop, you'll get something, but you want to try not to stop and just work your way down.
All right. Now, do we have questions?
I have one. Stephanie's wondering how easy it is to remove the marker cap. She said her poor little fingers hate a specific brand's caps because they're hard to remove.
I do not think they're difficult at all. I think they snap right up. They got a nice little click to them, so you know that they're sealed, but you don't have to fight them to come
Yeah,
off at all.
I'm not using a whole lot of pressure here. But it does have a like, if I'm not really pulling it at all, like it's not gonna come apart. But as soon as I start to pull a little bit more pressure, like
Yeah.
it's really quite
Really.
easy. You have another question?
William would like to know if we can get replacement nibs for the pens.
Just talking about that.
Yep, they'll be available in 2025, and they'll come in 5-packs.
Awesome.
There we go. I did a continuous fill. I'm
Isn't
proud
that great?
of me. I'm
Yeah.
proud.
Isn't that good? So that's the best way to fill an area with a solid color.
Okay.
So continuous line.
Just
I
kinda
like
go
it
back
with
and
the
forth.
brush nib. You can do it with the chisel nib, but I think the brush nib is a little more forgiving and gives you better, even color.
Now, see, again, I'm a brush nib kind of girl. Those of you watching, let us know. Are you brush nib or are you team chisel nib? I swear we're split.
Brush.
So the next one,
Pens.
intermittent, we're going to use the chisel nib. And this
Okay.
is another technique for filling in the area, but great for creating the illusion of texture.
Okay.
So I'm going to use the blue here. And here we're going to pick it up. So we make a line, and then we go back and we overlap just a little bit, and so that creates this darker edge.
Oh, okay.
So this is like a wood grain, maybe. You know, lots of
I'm just gonna
things
switch
that it could
over
be.
to
I'm
like
doing it
this
straight across. You could vary it and make it a wavier line and create something there.
I'm gonna
But
switch
this
over
is
to
called
this
an intermittent fill.
brown color because I feel like if it's gonna look like wood grain, right?
Yep.
Ooh.
And again, these are real basic techniques. If you're a marker pro out there, you're like, well, yeah, I got this. But this is a really fun way to test them. See how they're going to work for you before you tackle a piece. And then again, for folks who have never used a marker before, this is really great in understanding how markers work and what you can do with them.
Nice. There you go. Made wood grain.
Yay.
That's so fun.
All right, so this next, we're going to get a little more advanced. We're going
Okay.
to layer some color now, and we're going to
Okay.
layer just one color.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and pick, I use the pink. I'm going to pick
Does it
the
matter?
yellow. Does not matter.
Okay.
Any color. Doesn't matter which nib. If you're a brush nib, you use the brush nib, and I'll use the chisel nib.
Okay.
All right, so what we're going to do here is fill it in. First, you can use the intermittent or continuous technique.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and do the intermittent technique.
I'll do continuous. I feel like
Alright.
since we're doing.
And we're going to fill in the entire.
While you guys are filling,
Mm-hmm.
can you immediately go over the same color to make it darker?
That's exactly what we're doing. Great
Okay.
question. Somebody just like, they saw this and they knew what was happening. Yep.
Guys are like one step ahead of us.
So about halfway,
Oh.
right in the middle, we're going to start and go down again. And so we're going to create a darker color. You can see it more in the brown one. Mine's a little more subtle, but you can see I've got this darker, warmer yellow
Yeah.
as a result. Yeah.
I don't know if the camera's picking that up so like as much as
Yeah.
I can see it in real life for sure, but there's definitely now I guess I feel
That
like
one.
if we do this again,
Yeah.
it would get even darker.
Yep, and we're going to do the gradation down below.
Nice.
So we're going to do that. So two colors too. So we can take two colors and create the same kind of effect. So let's go ahead
Okay.
and pick, I'm going to pick the,
Ooh, I'm gonna pick two colors that are gonna
I'm
look
gonna
good
pick the
together.
purple. That's going to be pretty dark though. Actually, that'll be fun though.
I'm gonna go with this almost, I guess, kind of khaki beige color, and I'll go back to this like lighter green. I feel like these two will work great together.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so again, I'll do the intermittent. You want to do the continuous?
Okay. 'Cause
All
I'm
right.
definitely better at that.
So we'll fill
Just
it in.
fill the whole thing in?
Yep.
Okay.
So in the previous one, we used the same color over the top of it. So this time, we're going to use a separate color over the top and create that optical mixture. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use the blue so we create a wonderful violet.
Ooh, love that.
And there we go. Right here.
Okay.
Oh, look at that purple. This is the same
Ooh.
blue that was over here.
Wow.
Now it's over this red.
Okay.
And we get this really deep kind of ultramarine.
I'm getting a more naturalistic kind of earthy green.
Yeah, that's nice.
Especially for the nature color, I feel, or the nature set, I feel like that would be absolutely wonderful for trying to do any kind of like a outdoor
Landscape,
scene.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for sketchers, you know, out in the landscape or urban sketchers, these
Oh,
are going to
yeah.
be great color tools.
For
Yeah.
sure. We have another question?
James would like to know if you can use the ink pen over the dried marker.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Absolutely.
would imagine, for sure. I mean, it's gonna be
That's actually, if there's
Dry
any
really
ink
fast.
pens close by, when we get to the end, we'll go ahead and demo that.
true.
Yeah, so maybe.
Can you
if there's a
grab me one of
micron or
those
something,
the accurate ones? I know we
yeah,
have
we'll
a
save that
a
for
pack
the
of
end.
those.
We'll do
Yeah.
that in the mixed media script. That's a
Perfect.
great idea.
Love it.
I
Thank
love
you.
this
is
audience
awesome.
participation.
They're
It's just the
great.
best.
Our audience is the best. I'm might be biased, but they are the best. You guys, definitely. Okay.
All right, gradation,
Mm-hmm.
one color. So this is kind of what you were alluding to here.
Okay.
So we're going to pick a color. I'm going to go with
I feel like if I
orange.
go with the gray, then you're definitely not going to see it. Let me go with this yellow.
So
try
again,
and
you can
hopefully see
do
this.
intermittent or continuous color here. Since we're kind of divvying up the chores, I like that.
Okay.
So-
Which one are you going to go with?
I'm going to do intermittent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Get a pen for later.
And then about 2/3 of the way up, I'm going to start again.
2/3. Okay. Keep this going down.
And then about 1/3 of the way down here, I'm going to do a
That's
final one.
Very pretty yellow.
So get this nice gradation. So even though you can't blend them through layering, you can create some pretty convincing gradations. And we're just doing 1, 2, 3. You could multiply this and create even a softer transition that would be almost imperceptible.
I was just doing that.
You were doing that, yeah. See, so you can create really nice gradations, or
so
what other
pretty.
people would do by blending, you can do with layering. So let's do it with two colors.
Okay.
So let's, I'm going to
So I need
start
to
with
use
the
this.
yellow.
I feel like
Actually, let's do 3 colors. It says 2 colors on there. Let's do 3.
we're gonna do 3.
We're going to go out there.
All right, I'm gonna actually go from gray to light blue to dark blue. How about that?
I love it.
Like that's fun.
That's going to be perfect. So I'm going to be bold. I'm going to use primary colors.
So we fill in the
some-
whole thing, right?
Fill in the whole thing first with the first color.
Okay.
And it's probably going to be more successful if you're going light to dark with a technique like this. If you go with your darkest color first, it's going to be a little harder to see the
I feel like that would
transitions.
make- yeah.
Yeah, so there's my light. I'm going to go ahead now and
Same thing.
2/3 of the way up. Yep.
Speaking of that, if you were to go over a darker color with a lighter color, would you see it on the nib? Would it pick it up?
It does not pick up that much. I don't know if you've noticed, you know, as I'm going through, I did a little bit of that. If it does pick up, it washes out pretty easily.
Okay.
Either by working it out, drawing, a little bit of water and a rag will also clean it up too. So that's a good question. All right, I'm gonna do blue, my last
I
one.
feel
A little
like-
dark color here.
Speaking of,
It's almost a green. This is the same blue that's there. So I've got that yellow
wow.
and then the red that's there over the yellow. So a fun
I just got darker.
contrast. That's nice though.
But it's
you went
fun.
for monochromatic and yeah, it works well.
That's very fun.
All right, scumbling.
Okay.
So this is really about exploring different types of mark making that you can get. So you can use both of the nibs in this one. I'm going to go ahead and use purple.
Okay.
And I'm going to start with the brush nib. So scumbling, for those of you who aren't familiar with that term, it's primarily a painting term. That means applying the paint loosely in different directions to create a more naturalistic, organic type surface. It's used a lot in creating textures. It's used a lot in creating sky. Oil painters use it primarily in a dry brush technique,
Yep.
but it can also be used in wet into wet techniques. So it's just about loosely sketching. So
Okay.
you're just really creating, and with the brush nib I can create different nibs. So it's just having some fun on the surface as opposed to drawing straight lines to kind of see what kind of marks I can get. You can vary the pressure here.
Let's go this way.
If you want to do another color in there, you can do that as well. Just come along.
I feel like this would be great for, like, especially because, again, I am using the nature set. Like, this feels like it would be perfect for some kind of like a foliage.
Yeah.
Like, I just drew a bush.
The person who was just asking about the light color over the dark, I'm using this, and the color dries so quickly. There's virtually I'm not really seeing any pickup. So you're really pretty safe layering these light over dark colors. It's just is a subtler optical mixture. So, scumbling.
Okay. I'm going to try the chisel.
I like it.
It's fun.
Yeah. All right. Stippling. Very similar.
Oh, my favorite.
We all know dot, Seurat, right? Again, for creating nice optical color mixtures, instead of one over the other, which will be part of it, now we've got color side by side. A real common inking technique. I'm going to use the chisel nib just because I'll be able to really control the size of my stipple. I'm going to go heavy. Kind of lighten up as I go. Just another way to fill in an area. This is a loose example of it. You can get really, really detailed and exacting doing this technique too.
Okay. And I'm using the brush tip. Because I figured if you're using the chisel.
Give them both a go. I love it. All right.
So everywhere where the yellow is overlapping,
You're getting some nice greens.
I'm getting some really pretty
nice
greens.
Yeah,
That is so cool.
like a third color
Almost, yeah.
introducing into it.
Kathy's
How
wondering
fun.
if these can be used on wood.
Yeah, sure, sure. Water-based, should be no issues with wood. I mean, depending on the grade of the wood, some wood does have chemicals that are used in the preservation or drying process, so always beware of that. But a wood panel, like a canvas board or something like that, for sure.
yeah. Would this might have any kind of a bleed out with that?
There's gonna be some bleed
Yeah,
out,
because I feel
depending
like
on the
it's such an
type of wood.
absorbent.
Yep. Yeah, if you're just using a
Surface.
piece of pine from the hardware store, there's gonna be lots of bleed.
Yeah,
in that type of wood.
Because
If
it's
you're
like
using
a
birch
sponge. It just
panel,
wants to.
same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I would probably be using the inks rather than the markers personally, because this might actually give you a really beautiful stain color.
Yeah,
Honestly.
really nice.
Right?
Yep.
Instead of wood, would they be able to be used on Easter eggs as well? And are they safe for Easter eggs?
They, there are no carcinogenic pigments
I
in
was gonna
use
say, it's
there,
pigment-based,
and nothing in the
but-
solvent that would cause a problem with that. Absolutely.
Not these are eggs that we're eating afterwards, because that's
They're always going to. I mean, eggshells are not impermeable,
No,
so
yeah.
there is going to be color that's going to stain your egg.
yeah. I personally wouldn't eat the eggs afterwards, but that's just because my brain is like, don't eat your art supplies, don't ever eat your art supplies.
Yep.
But
They are AP approved,
okay.
so you've got that going for them. But
I
yeah,
still wouldn't eat them.
always err on the side of caution, right? Don't eat your art supplies.
Yeah, never good call.
All right, hatching, another basic
Okay.
technique. I like those colors so much. I'm going to get close to that.
All right, I'm gonna go more naturalistic.
Okay, I'm going to go with the chisel, and I'm just
Okay.
going to do a couple different
Are we,
directions here.
Yep, I was gonna say, are we gonna do like cross hatching? Feels very comic book-esque.
Get some of the optical color mixing again. But just a great way to create some texture and interest in the piece,
I love it.
and also to test out the marker, see what it can do.
And I'm actually using the chisel side too, because I feel like with straight lines, the chisel
Nice
is
control.
just
Yeah, it gives you more control.
It really is. Especially when you're using that little the nib as we were doing at the very top there. Nice.
All right, mixed media. So we brought those pens.
Yes, we have the pens. I think they're right over there.
Oh, there we go. Let's
Yes.
get these out. I'll
Okay.
open up these bad boys. Do you know?
Yes. There's easier way to do this is just rip into it.
So let's use them underneath and on top.
I was actually going to ask you. Okay, so I'm going to use the 0.8.
There's the front one.
So I think that's the. Do you want the?
There's a fatter one.
There you
There
go.
we go.
That's the opposite end of that spectrum. So
There
then
we
here,
go.
I'll use the 5. So that's a little bit halfway through.
So whatever kind of
Okay.
marks you want to make with it, I'm just going to make some little polka dots here.
Okay. Well, I have the nature set, so I feel like leaves would be.
I saw Yayoi Kasama's work lately, so I'm kind of obsessed with her polka dots.
Nice.
So now I'm going to use the brush nib, and I'm going to make some yellow, magenta, and cyan circles. I'm just going to go
Nice.
right over there. Can you see no bleeding right over the top?
Yeah, no, this is not moving it at all. And what's funny is that it almost seems to, I know that it's a black ink, but it almost seems to darken the color of the waterproof technical pen that we're using. This is the Accurate. So it is, ooh, actually I just remembered I can darken it by layering it on top of itself. But yeah, no, this is, this would be really great for anybody who's doing fashion design. I could see that immediately. If you're doing a quick sketch of a dress or a shirt or anything, and you just need to lay down some quick
And you
color.
could go back and forth.
Oh, for sure.
Now I'm going to come back and going to outline some of these colors, and you can see no real bleeding of the ink that's over the top of it. Right into that.
quickly drawing.
So it plays nice. You could use them with other dry media too, graphite, charcoal, pastel. You could put over the top of these, no problem. You could do an underdrawing in these and then layer it with pastel.
That would be very fun.
So lots of options there. If you're using acrylic inks or other types of water-based inks, you should be in good shape. You could put solvent-based products or oil-based products over the top of it, just not the other way around.
That makes sense. Yeah, because it is water-based, it won't go on top of oil.
It's not going to adhere very well,
No.
but you could certainly put that over the top of it. So
And especially if your oil
play
is
nice.
still wet,
Yes.
that would just be awful.
Yeah.
Not a good plan. But yeah, awesome. These are
And I love
clearly
the color.
I'm
Really,
enjoying
really rich
myself.
color. Very nature. I like that. I hide mine for a second. Very nature palette.
I mean, that's exactly what it
Very
is.
primary.
It
very bold.
is.
Yeah.
I love that. That's fun. All right, now this isn't the end of the demo,
No,
though.
no.
We have more to do.
We're going to do some of the inks and the inking techniques. And so we are using here, I'll put it like that.
Okay.
A 140-pound cold press watercolor paper, just your basic watercolor paper, nothing fancy.
Let me get the water here. You have that and palette. All right.
And the palette, yeah, let's go ahead and we'll just put some.
Probably share.
Yeah, let's share.
honestly.
Yeah, we don't need more than that. Put a little yellow there. You can mix these
Actually,
together.
instead of just waiting. Are you getting the? Okay.
Yeah. You can mix these to create secondary colors.
Ooh. Let me try.
Yeah, try one.
Try the green.
A little there.
I'll do purple down here. How about that?
Sounds good.
All right.
Nice orange. Yeah.
There's a pretty green. Ooh. Now, I don't want to put it on the paper just yet. Do we have a question?
Yes, someone would like to know if you could potentially flip over one of the worksheets to see if there's any bleed through.
Oh, yeah. Ta-da! That's, I mean, we were doing a lot of layers
And
there.
this is the Talens paper, yeah. So,
Yeah.
and we put some heavy layers in some of those. So, no, good stuff.
Thanks for asking. That was great. Great question. Great question? Wow, words. I can talk. And this is a little bit more of a naturalistic purple.
Yeah.
I almost put that in the wrong well there. But it's still really pretty purple.
Yeah,
It
it'll
just,
probably
it's
look
really
good
dark.
when we brush it
Yeah.
out too with
Okay.
some water.
So what are we doing?
All right, so this first one I just want to do a dry brush technique.
Okay.
So actually, you have a couple choices. You could dip your brush in and apply it that way, or you can just take the pipette, because you can draw with this too, and go straight
Ooh.
onto the surface of the paper.
Okay.
And then with a dry brush, I just wanted to show you how this color goes on.
I'm going to go a little bit lighter.
Do some scumbling in here. Let it fade out. So nice dry brush technique.
Because this is, you said this is a cold press paper.
This is a cold press paper, so it's going to dry even faster because it's more absorbent.
But it has that texture to
Nice
it, which
texture.
is why we're getting
Yeah.
a beautiful texture to it. Now, because it dries so fast, we can go on top of this, right?
You can. So let's do that on the next one. So
Okay.
a glaze, essentially.
Okay.
So let's clean out our brush.
Our water is already dirty.
Close enough.
All right.
All right, so let's do the brush. I'm going to do a little yellow.
I'm going to do... I'm going to do a little blue. I want more water. Make a lighter blue.
How quickly do these inks dry out on the palette?
On the palette, because there's zero absorption, they're going to stay wet for a good time. I don't have a time
Okay.
limit for it, but I've sat for several hours working with them.
Do they compare to like liquid watercolor vibes? Okay.
Yeah.
I made Sky.
All right, so now we're just going to do a quick glaze over the top. I'm going to put a
Okay.
little of this blue. I'm going to thin it out a little bit, though.
I did the exact same.
Yeah.
Now, mine is still wet because I had a lot of water
If
up
you
there.
used a lot
still.
of water,
Yeah.
go, and then go over
So-
your dry brush over there.
It's like I can dry.
So nice
Okay.
glaze
It's
thing.
almost, ooh, I love that. Okay, so
I'll do the same thing over here
0.
too. I'll do this blue over this. Well, we know it's dry for sure.
Nice. Do this red violet. It's actually really more of like a red violet that I mixed. Oh, but that's pretty.
Yeah, so how much water you add is going to
Greatly affect.
alter the working property, but create some fun techniques in and of itself too. All the wonderful watercolor wet into wet techniques,
Yeah.
inking techniques.
Alright, if I kind of get it to even move on paper just by tilting it.
So we've got a
That's
little
fun.
dirty water here, but I think it's still going to be fun. And let's just do that. Let's wet our paper.
Okay. I also have
Oh, spritz are
A
fun.
spray
We'll be able to
bottle.
spray it. Yeah.
so quickly.
And so we can actually. I'm going to use the dropper.
Okay.
I'm just going to drop some color in there.
I'm gonna go with that orange. Ooh.
Look at how rapidly it disperses. I love that. Such a concentration of color, but in a pigmented ink, which is really fun.
Yeah, see. Oh,
Look at that. Nice bleed there and the push
Oh,
against the
that's
water.
fun.
Isn't that fun?
yeah.
You
So
can do this
nice.
with the markers too.
It's funny how this is moving with the water, with it brushed,
Yeah.
because it wants to move, but it's definitely trying to hold where it is, which is a very fun. This would be
You
great
can
for
pull
like
the
fire.
marker
This
through
is
it too while it's wet.
Ooh.
Diffuse the color there.
I feel like I don't have the right color to go with this orange. It's okay.
Oh, nice. I like that. Yeah, so we could have done this with just the markers too. You can pre-wet the surface on watercolor paper
Yeah.
and draw with the markers and get that wonderful diffused
fun.
line. Yeah.
Nice. You see where it actually still dry up here is a little bit more sharp. We have a question?
First, can you move the canvas up just a little bit?
I'm gonna try and do our best.
If you can't.
There. If I get things off the table, it's actually I got more space. There we go. Sorry.
Someone asked if you know how the markers and inks would perform on Yupo paper, if you know what that is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So that almost no absorption with the Yupo paper, and you're going to get a lot longer working time. It's not going to dry as quickly on the Yupo paper. So whether you're working with the markers or the inks separately or together, you're going to have a wetter surface to manipulate for a longer period of time. You should get some really nice, sharp, clean edges with the marker as a result of that. But just beware that the surface is not going to be dry for a little bit. It's going to take longer to dry on the surface.
Thank you.
You bet. This last one, I'm going to do something that seems crazy. It's not. It's
Okay.
only sort of crazy.
Only sort of.
So I'm going to actually, we've got it in the palette here. I don't need to do that.
Okay.
I'm going to take my blue marker, take the brush end,
Okay.
and I'm going to dip it
Into the ink.
into the ink. Oh my gosh, look at how much ink came out of that. But now I can create this wonderful
That's green.
green line that's going to slowly turn to blue
Okay. Definitely gonna have to try that with this. Well,
until it works its way
light
up.
blue or dark blue? Light blue. Okay. I'll try that with the red.
You can also take the markers and put them together like this. And you can see I'm drawing some of that red ink out of the marker
That is so fun. Oh wow. It's definitely.
and get a similar effect.
That is so cool. All right, we have a question.
Yeah, Gigi's wondering, number one, can you lift color once you put it down? And number two, can you reactivate once it is dry?
No. No and no and no.
Okay.
Yeah. So it does dry so quickly and it's permanent, so it creates an impermeable surface which can't be reactivated or lifted afterwards. And there's no solvent that you can use to lift it with either. So that is one of the, I mean, it's a strength depending on how you like to work with it. If you're layering color, it's definitely a strength because you know that you're not going to be lifting color up unless you've wetted the surface beforehand. If you're looking to do lifting techniques or looking to do techniques that require the removal of color, like with a solvent, you're going to be prohibited there. Now, if you wet the surface like that or work on a paper like the Yupo paper that was mentioned earlier, you are going to have a little more time to play around with those things and probably would be able to achieve some level of success that way. But my general answer would be no, they're permeable. You're not going to be able to lift or reactivate the color.
Now, as soon as I was curious if, because I had just put the blue on this yellow and drew around on the paper. Once I was finished getting all that green off and it stopped coming back off the marker tip is now right back to yellow.
Yeah, they will
Because you guys
self-clean
Yeah.
pretty rapidly.
Just
If you do
scribble.
have a problem with that, a little water and a paper towel will pull it off, and it doesn't take long for the ink then to come back into the nib.
Nice.
You know, it's just like you want to go back through and
Yeah, I want to keep playing with these, but
do other stuff. Yeah. I've got a little of that red in there.
that is so fun.
So this is where the layering of the two can be really fun too.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that is so cool.
I'm going to use your light blue.
Go for it. Now, do we have any more questions? Because I know we are we're definitely over time, but I know it's a brand new product, so we're all very curious about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Does it stain your hands?
It's a permanent color, so it will stain, but I have had this a lot more than this on my hands. Within a couple days, it's completely washed off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they are permanent, and they are pigmented, so if you get them on their clothes, they will stain. So you want
it's
to
like
make sure
I'm
that,
a pretty clean
yeah.
artist, so
They're safe, for kids to use, but they're going to be messy. So you want to make sure that people have aprons on and you're not working on a surface that you're going to stain.
and don't wear clothes that you love, and
Yep. Yep.
specifically for the kids. Don't put them in their Sunday best. All right, well that is definitely something I am gonna have to I gotta keep playing with these, but I know we are out of time. You guys have been amazing as far as everybody asking all of our, I'm sorry, we have a question?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. This has been so much fun talking about this, and you guys have been an amazing audience asking all those questions. Now, if you do have more questions, and this is in the future and we're not live anymore, please be sure to put them as a comment, of course. That way we can come back and always answer them that way. And
Absolutely.
I can always send them to Jeff. So.
Absolutely. Happy to answer
Yeah.
more questions. And no pun intended, this is really just the tip, the iceberg here.
Yes.
We've just shown you the basics. I think there's so much more potential
Yes.
to explore,
There's
and
so
not
many
just for
options.
marker enthusiasts, but for other artists as well. This could be a whole new tool in your arsenal.
Now, before, and I know we're at the end of the show, and I almost forgot the giveaway.
The giveaway.
We had, that was what Katie gave me a face, and I'm like, was there a question? I'm sorry. Yes, so, brand new
Easy
set of
question. This is
these.
going to be the speed typing.
Just a little housekeeping.
Mm-hmm.
Because now we are broadcasting to several social
Yes.
medias. We're going to
Oh,
do
yes.
it as a form.
Okay,
So I just need to know when the end is and what the question is, and we will put the forum link in our link in bio and in the chats.
do you want to do it for a week, like we
Okay.
normally do? So, this giveaway then, Amanda just reminded me, I always forget that because we're going over several platforms now, to do our giveaway, you have to link to the form, and we're going to make sure that is linked in to the description so you guys can find it that way. So don't panic. Now the answer in the form is where you need to put your answer. And then we'll close this as of Friday at, what time is it on Friday that we close them? Is it
Friday
right?
could just be 11:59 p.m.
Is it a week or is it, I'm sorry, week or Friday?
You said a week.
A week, I'm sorry, a week. I'm thinking it's Friday, guys. Ignore that. Okay, so a week from today, which will be next Wednesday at 11:59 p.m.
Next Tuesday at 11:59 p.m.
Tuesday?
Yeah.
Today
Tuesday.
is Tuesday.
Tuesday. I know what day it is, I swear. I don't. Okay, so next Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. This is why I'm just making sure. Sorry. This giveaway will close, but you guys will be able to enter this, of course, right now.
Right now.
As soon as we get the question.
The question is easy. how many markers are in the collection?
I think that was gonna be the question.
Katie knows. Katie knows. Okay, so how many markers are in the collection? We're going to link that form for you guys to
I
check
got a
out.
bonus question for another additional set.
Ooh.
Does that sound good?
Oh.
Bonus question. Approximately
Bonus
how many times or how many refills will you get from a bottle of the marker ink in the marker? How many times can you refill your marker?
Love that. All right, so, and this is what we are going to be giving away.
27 set?
27
Yeah.
set, which is not the answer. And then you guys make sure you put that into the form, and then we will pick our winners after it closes. And good luck. I'm so excited.
I know, me
Thank
too.
you so much.
Thank you, everybody,
Yeah.
for sticking with us.
I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
All right, guys, that was our show. I appreciate you guys so much for watching. Of course, make sure to check us out next week because we're going to have Michaela back on. And she is going to be setting the mood with soft pastels, which is really exciting because she's going to talk about different types of mood in our artwork using pastels. So, all right, are you ready?
Oh, what do we got to do?
We're going to dance off.
Oh, we're dancing off.
Yes, but
I gotta watch out
before I
for-
do that, I have to get off my box because this is how tall I am in real life. All right, guys, I appreciate you all for watching, and we will see you guys next week.
Okay.
Bye.
I'm going to do the crab dance.
Ooh.